Americans are in Washington, D.C., demonstrating. They're marching. It's called the Monday Marches, 60 years since the March on Washington. And I'm just appalled at the ignorance of black people who are marching. Here you see Martin Luther King's son sitting up here uh, as one of the speakers here. I'm appalled and just astonished at the ignorance of black people who are marching on Washington, D.C. or marching anywhere, because black people have never acquired anything or accomplished anything by marching. White folks hope you Negroes keep marching, because you are not going to get anything accomplished by marching. You might as well go to a football game and watch the FAMU 100 band march up and down the field, because you're going to get more out of that than you're going to get marching on Washington, D.C. White folks hope and will encourage and even pay you to go and march, because they know they're safe as long as you just march and give speeches and try and embellish your own ego. As long as you keep acting like clowns and circus animals in a circus, marching up and down the street, marching on Washington, and making speeches to yourself, you're never going to get any change or accomplish the objective that you are complaining about. You're never going to solve any of the problems you're complaining about. You're never going to achieve any of the objectives that you're requesting the audience. The audience don't have any power to do anything that you are protesting. It's amazing. Man, it's amazing. The only thing that's going to make a difference in your life as black Americans, the only way you're going to make changes in America and in the way that black people live in America is to go to court. White folks know that. That's why they encourage you Negroes to keep marching. It's like a pressure valve to allow you to release your tension and outrage. They know as long as you Negroes stay out of court and do not file lawsuits to make a change in the law, there is never going to be any type of social change. How did black people get so-called equal opportunity? Brown versus Board of Education. That was a lawsuit they filed that made white folks change the way they discriminate against you. That's right. They changed the way they discriminate. It's a little bit less obvious and overt, but it is a change, and that change would have never happened unless some lawyers went to court and got a decision made by a court of law. The Supreme Court passed a law making it illegal for racist Ku Klux Klansmen and mega Republicans we see today to overtly discriminate and suppress and subjugate you black people. Once a change in the law is made, white folks will have to obey that law. But as long as you go and march and make a bunch of speeches, no matter who is the person speaking, white folks ain't gonna change nothing they do. They're gonna continue with the status quo. There's not going to be any changes you Negroes are going to see unless you hire a lawyer and go to court to handle your case. You see what Donald Trump doing? He marching to Washington, D.C., protesting that the election was stolen. Donald Trump is not gathering up all of these Klansmen from around the country that only have 4 teeth and 3 brain cells and convincing them to march to Washington, D.C. with him to complain about the election being stolen. No, Donald Trump ain't that stupid. But you black people, under the leadership of simple minds, simpletons like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all these other fools that are being controlled by their white puppet masters, they are the ones that are benefiting economically and egotistically for having you march instead of filing some lawsuits that's going to really make a change. These marches are not benefiting you black people at all. It's amazing. The hypocrisy and cowardness, the spinelessness of these so-called black leaders who have been picked out for you. They are not some people that have that the black community has recognized and lifted up to represent you, like Malcolm X or Marcus Garvey. These people that you see marching on Washington, D.C. are trying to appease white folks. And they're marching with the approval and support of white folks. Isn't that right? What do you say, Miss Dub? Is that right or right? Is that right or wrong? That's right. It's right. That's right. What you see on TV here is not something that is being done that will benefit you people. That's right. You people are not going to have any type of success unless you change the way you address and attack systems of racial discrimination. Racial discrimination is not an ideology that is practiced by individuals. The racism that black people in America are experiencing is systemic. It is something embedded in the foundation of America in the form of laws and policies. Yes, laws and policies that dictate the behavior and business, social, and economic practices of white folks. And the only way you're going to change these laws, conditions, policies, and practices is to change the laws and the policies that control the behavior of white folks. And that can only be done by getting a lawyer, fool, not some screaming idiot such as Al Sharpton. Get a lawyer. You got to have a lawyer. You see, there was no other changes made in the benefit of black people unless a lawyer went to court and argued the case and got the laws changed. So, next time somebody tell you we're gonna march here or march there, tell them you might as well go to an HBCU game and watch FAMU or Jackson State or Alabama State black band march at halftime. That's what the march is intended for, not to make a change in the basic conditions upon which black people live. Isn't that something? You look at TV today, the only thing you see is an army of lawyers that Donald Trump has hired. Donald Trump did not hire an army of protesters.
Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children.
Black people need to hire an army of lawyers. That would make white folks not able to sleep at night. You need an army of lawyers to start filing suits concerning anything that you want to see changed. That would start a civil war against black Americans, because that is what white folks know will, in fact, make a definitive change in the way black people are treated. So I just want to get on here and make a quick response to what I just heard about these black people in Washington, D.C., marching on Washington, D.C. to celebrate 60 years of the Civil Rights Act being passed, which is, in fact, the most detrimental, most profound, destructive act that was imposed upon black people. The Civil Rights Act was the most notorious
when he wins the presidency, and then he likened the progressive Democratic representative
thing that could have happened to the black community.
Grand wizards of the Ku Klux Klan.
Talk about that later.
Just said two black progressive
well,
people.
Until then, think about what I said.
And by the way, he said the climate
and look around and see how changes are made in society. Are they made by marching, or are they made by people going to court with a lawyer to argue their case? Again, the only changes in society that will matter can only be obtained by going to court. All right, y'all take care. I'm gone.